I'm Shelly Turner with the BUILDERALL team. In this video, we're going to talk about settings in Cheetah. As you can see, I'm in the Cheetah editor, and I've added a few elements, and we're going to go through the settings for those elements and how to manage those settings to get each element to look exactly like you want it to look. So I've gone through and actually set up several different elements, and let's walk through and look at how we can manage the settings. So first of all, I've added just a blank panel, and if I click on the panel, I want you to notice that I get a mini toolbar up here in the top left-hand corner. And this is one way to manage things about panels. Is the panel, I can choose to hide it. I can use the up and down arrows to move it up and down on my page. I can duplicate it, or I can click the delete trash can and delete it. So that's one way to affect a panel. I can also right click on the panel, and that takes me to settings and then style. So that's the first area that I can affect under the settings area inside of the editor. So style is first, and if I want to change anything as far as style on my panel, I can change the size, the minimum size, the background color or image. I can change the border. I can change the radius, meaning rounded corners, and I can also add a shadow. So those are the first settings inside of a panel that I can affect. Also, I can choose animation, and for panels, there's no options for animation. And then also under panel, I can choose advanced, and I can choose to add an anchor point here, or I can save this panel as a saved item, and it will appear in my personal area, and then I can use that item again in another page or even another website. So those are the settings for panels. If I go here to my box element, I can click on the box. I have a mini toolbar here, and under this mini toolbar, I can click to center it. I can hide it, I can duplicate it, or I can delete it. If I right click the box, that takes me to settings where I can go into style, and I can change the size, the minimum size, background, border, radius, and shadow. I can also go into the animation settings, and I can set up some animation settings. And then I can also go into advanced, and I can work with the layers, or I can also save this item as a personal item. It will be put into my personal area, and then I can use this item again on other pages or even in other websites. The next element is a button. If I click on the button, I have a mini toolbar, and on that mini toolbar, I can center the item. I can set up the settings for that button, as in what action will take place if they click the button. So I can click that item and set up the settings for what happens to that button once they click. I can also hide the button, duplicate the button, or delete the button using a trash can. If I right click the button, that takes me into settings and style, and I can change the background, the border, radius, button headline, button subheadline, and shadow. Also under settings for the button, I can go into animation, and I can change the animation settings. And then I can also go into the settings advanced area and change the layering information, and also save this item in my personal area so I can reuse this button. Then I also have the email marketing form. If I click on that one time, I can actually get the mini toolbar where I can center the item. I can set up the action for that item, including what email list it connects to in Mailing Boss. I can hide the item, duplicate the item, or delete the item with the trash can. I can also right-click the form, and that takes me into settings and then style. And in the style area, I can change the general settings, size, input style, background, border, radius, button headline, button subheadline, and shadow. I can also go into the animation settings, and in animation settings, I can change this area. And then also in settings advanced, I can work with the layering. I can also save that element as a personal element to go in the personal area where I could use it again in another page or another website. The next area is the iframe. That's this one right here. If I just regular left click it, I get the mini toolbar where I can center it, I can hide it, duplicate it, or trash it with the trash can. I can also right click that iframe, and that takes me to settings and style. where I can change the general settings, the size, border, and radius. I can also change the animation settings, and then I can go to advanced and I can affect the layering and also save it as an element in my personal area to use again on another page or website. Then I've got images. If I just single click on the image, I can use the mini toolbar to center. I can click on this icon to change the image and connect to my digital file repository to change the image. I can hide this image, duplicate this image, or delete it with a trash can. I can also right-click the image, and that takes me into settings and style, where I can go into general settings, size, border, radius, and shadow. Then I also have the ability to go into the animation settings for that image and change the animation information, and also go to advanced in settings to work with layers and also to save the element as a personal item to use in another page or website. The next area is menu. If I just regular click it with left click, I get the mini toolbar where I can center it, and I can also go to the settings to set up and configure my menu with the items that I want on my menu. Then I can also go to hide it, duplicate it, or delete it with the trash can. And then I can right click it to go to style settings, where I can change the background, border, radius, item menu, sub item, and then shadow. I can also change the animation settings here, which for menus there are no animation settings. And then I can go to the advanced settings where I can work with layers, and I can also save the element in my personal area to use again on another page or website. The next one is video. If I click on a video, I've got the mini toolbar where I can center the item, hide it, duplicate it, or delete it with a trash can. And then I can right click it, and that takes me into the style settings where I can change the general settings, size, border, and radius. I can also go to animation settings where I have some ability to set some animations, and then go to advanced settings where I can work with layers, and I can also save this item into my personal area to use again on another page or another website. And then the last element that we can work with is text. If I click on the text, I get another mini toolbar where I can center it, hide it, duplicate it, or click the trash can to delete it. I can also right click it, but the text is a little bit different than all of the other elements, because when you right click it, it takes you to setting and then style, but there's nothing listed in there that allows you to change the style. So to change the style of text, there's two ways you can do it. You can go into the add and then font and change it throughout the entire website. This text is an H1, so to change H1s throughout the entire website, I can change it in this add font area. But if I only want to change it for this box, I can double click it, and inside this box I get a dynamic toolbar, and I can do many different things to change the text to what I want it to be, and it will only change it in this element box. And then once I'm done, I click save, and then I'm able to edit any other element. There's two ways to edit. That is to go to add and font and change your font item throughout the entire website, or double click and change it using the dynamic toolbar and change it only in this element area on this page. When you're finished, make sure to click save so you can get out of the element and edit other elements. If I right click this item again, I go to animation. We do have some animation settings for our text, and then also go to advanced. It allows me to work with layers and also to save the element in my personal area so I can use it again on another page or in another website. All of what we looked at is in the desktop version. If I go to mobile version, you can see that I have all of the same elements, but when I go to settings, so let's start with the box up at the top. If I right click, I've got style, I've got animation, and I've also got advanced. If I'm in the mobile area and I want to make a change to an item, especially in spacing, I need to go to the advanced area and change the padding information. And padding is the space on the top, the left-hand side, the right-hand side, and the bottom. So that enables you to change the look of it, and it will not affect the desktop version. If you make changes in the style area to an element, it will affect the desktop version. So let's take this, for example, the box. If I go to radius and I change the radius to 50 on each of the corners, we're going to have nice rounded corners on that box. And then if I go back to the desktop version, you'll see that it changed the desktop version. So in order to fix that, if you do want to change something like that, where it changes the whole design of the box, you can choose to hide the box and then add a new box into mobile that won't appear on your desktop. But also remember, you've got the ability in the advanced area of mobile to change the padding or the spacing of the item if spacing is the only issue that you're dealing with. If it's something where you're changing the style, then you'll have to hide that element and create a new element for mobile to be able to create something that's very different from the desktop. The same is true for all of the other elements. So if I click on my button and then right click to go to settings, if I change anything in the style area, it's going to change the desktop version. So if I want to make a change to the mobile, I need to click advanced, and then I have the padding area here, so I can change the spacing if I need to. If it's something that I need to change the style, then I need to hide that item and create a new item in the mobile view. So let's go back to the desktop and review what we covered. We covered the style settings, animation settings, and advanced settings for all the different type of elements that we have available in your editor in Cheetah. Have fun creating something amazing in Cheetah.